Hello and welcome back to Alexandria Loves Books. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we are filming our August wrap up. And guys, it's been a good month. I think this might be my best rated month of the year. I should really track these things. I read 12-ish books. 12-ish books. I'll explain the ish when we get to the ish. So first order of business, I actually read every book on my August TBR. And yes, my August TBR was only 5 books, when normally I do 8, but this is still a win, okay? I'm counting it. I still read my entire August TBR, so counting back. And then my genre breakdown, I'll put it on the screen, but I have read 5 romance books this month, 1 fantasy, 2 mystery, 1 young adult. I don't know if I should put that in romance or like young adult is its own genre. So maybe you could count that as 6 romance or 5 romance, 1 young adult. 2 nonfiction, and then 1 graphic novel, which could also count as a romance, but I wanted to separate it because it's different. A lot of these are in videos, but a handful of them are not. So I'll let you know which ones are in videos. Starting off with the first book, If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. I read this in my moving and reading vlog, so go watch that. Go watch me have a breakdown over this book. So this is the young adult romance, and it is a sad romance. So I'll make sure to say that off the bat. So this follows Autumn and Finn. They've been best friends growing up. They've, been inseparable, but then kind of middle school, like end of middle school and beginning of high school, they kind of grow apart. They go their separate ways, and they don't really talk to each other anymore. Also, they're neighbors, right? Did I make that up? No, they're neighbors. I think so. And their moms are best friends. So, very interwoven family, but they don't talk anymore. They're kind of in separate circles now. He's kind of like the it boy in the popular crowd. She's kind of in the crowd that's anti-popular, and they both don't date other people, but they always just have this like connection to each other, even though they don't really talk anymore. And so this is very slice of life. So if you like that vibe, you'll love this writing, because it kind of goes through all like their high school years. I didn't love that, and it kind of made me a little bit bored because I felt like not much was happening. I didn't even know how anything could happen, and then I feel like the last like 50 or so pages, that's when things started happening. I don't know how to rate this book, so I have not rated it. I truly do not know how to rate it, because the first 340 pages I was really bored, but then once we hit that mark, like an on, or around that mark and on, then all of a sudden I was connected to the characters. Don't know how that happened. And the prologue, or the first chapter, or whatever, the beginning of the book tells you the sad thing that's gonna happen at the end of the book. So I was thinking like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be sad, but I've read 300 and so pages and I don't care about these characters, so like it's not gonna hit. Again, go watch that video to watch me have a meltdown, because I was sobbing. I am emotionally damaged because of this book. Every single time I think about this book and I get really sad. But if that's your thing, you'll love this book. Now the next few books are not in videos because I then went home for 2 weeks to go like just visit family and visit home, and so I wasn't really filming. But I read The Housemaid's Secret on the plane. Finished this in 1 sitting. This is the 2nd book in like the Housemaid trilogy by Frida McFadden. So this follows the same main character. I think her name's Millie. She's a housemaid now for Mr. and Mrs. Garrick, and she only ever interacts with Mr. Garrick. She never sees Mrs. Garrick because she's always in this guest bedroom, never comes out. And then Millie knocks on the door and she hears crying. She then sees like some blood in different spots, and so she kind of understands what's going on a little bit, and she has, she has history with, what she's done in the housemaid. So she is like vows and promises to protect and save Mrs. Garrick from her abusive husband. I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about this book. I thought it might be a little bit repetitive to like the housemaid. I don't think this was. I feel like this was very different. And I feel like this story had so much more than just the synopsis on the back, which I loved, because it just threw me for so many loops, and it was just plot twists and turns and gasps. Like me sitting on the plane, like reading it and like having to like maintain my reactions, because I wanted to be like, what? Are you kidding me? What? Huh? Like I was trying to hold back my expressions, and because I was right next to a stranger. But this one, it got me, and it was very interesting, and I was on the edge of my plane seat. I rated this 4 stars. I really like this. And then I read Mixed Signals while I was home. This is the 3rd book in the Love Light series. So it's Love Light Farms, which is like the winter book, In the Weeds, which is the spring book, and then Mixed Signals, this is the summer book. And this one follows Layla. She is the baker at Love Light Farms, and she wants love. She's kind of tired of just seeing everyone else in love with the previous 2 couples at the farm, and she wants that for herself. And you know, she tries the apps and she goes on dates, but they're just awful. They're so bad. All of her dates are awful. So Caleb, who it's a small town. It's kind of, he was once a cop, but now he's the Spanish high school teacher, which is, it's explained why. It's not like he just like randomly has a different job now, but he's always liked her and has had a crush on her. And he kind of, you know, learns about these awful dates, and he's like, hey, how about we date for like a month or whatever, so I can show you what you really deserve and what a good guy, you know, is, and how you should be treated. And in exchange, like, you can give me pointers to help me be a better boyfriend, basically. Like fake dating, but it's not fake dating. I don't know, it's kind of, it's a little different, but that's the vibe. I rated this 3.5 stars. This series is kind of meh to me. I'm not a huge fan of the writing style. I still enjoy it. It's just kind of meh. I think it's very character driven, and I'm more of a plot driven preferenced reader. And the only time I am good with character driven is when I like the writing and the characters. And I do like these characters, just not that much. But I do think Caleb is the best book boyfriend in the series so far. He is so attentive to her and just loves her so much, and I adore them. Next, I listened to the audiobook of Crazy Love by Frances Chan. I listened to this while I puzzled, and it was a great time. This is a Christian nonfiction book, and it kind of talks about how much God loves us and kind of how that should reflect and impact our lives, the way we live our lives, and our relationship, our personal relationship with God. I truly think every believer should read this book. It made me reflect on my life, and of course, he was talking about how, you know, some people have done very radical things to serve God and everything, and that can't be expected of everyone. I don't, you know, we don't all have the finances to, you know, go across the world and do these things or whatever it may be. But it did make me reflect on my own life and think, okay, how can I better love God? Because God deserves our love so much. And how can I better serve him and his people and work for his kingdom? It was really inspiring, and it was really encouraging and impactful, and I hope that the thoughts it's left me with will help me change my life to better serve God. Next, I read an ebook, so I don't have the physical copy, and that was Infamous Like Us. This is the, I think, 10th book in the Like Us series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Yes, this series is like the spin-off series of the Addicted Calloway series. Like Us follows the kids from the characters of Addicted Calloway. Now, I haven't read Addicted Calloway. I need to, but I have read the first 10 books in the Like Us series. I came across it years ago and didn't realize that it was like the kids of that first series. Each kid has like 2 to 3 books dedicated to like them and their love story. And this one is, I guess would be considered a white shoes romance. I don't know. It is a poly relationship. It's with Sully, Akara, and Banks. This is their 3rd book. So I can't really say much about the plot without spoiling the first 2 books of them. But if you don't know Addicted Calloway or the Like Us series, it's one big family, and it's what, the 3 main couples I think are from Addicted Calloway, and then it's like their kids. There's like all these cousins from like these 3 different families. I think from others too. So there's a lot of people in this family and in this world. And then the Like Us series is them kind of falling in love with their bodyguards. They're all celebrities, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. They're all celebrities. Their parents were famous. They're famous from being the kids, but also from their own careers and everything. So Sullivan, she is an Olympic medalist. She is a swimmer. And so that's kind of also put her in the limelight. And then the fact that she's dating 2 bodyguards has also put her in the limelight. So that's some context for it, but I can't really say much about the plot of the 3rd book without spoiling the first 2. This is the only like a couple and books that I've read with a white shoes romance. It's not something I really look for, but I love these characters. It's very found family, even though they're literally family. These characters are such comfort characters, and they just make me feel part of the family. It's very fun, and I love them. I enjoyed reading about like their love story, even though it was you know, non-traditional. It was very interesting to read, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I need to read the Addicted Calloway series though. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I realized my laptop was making noise. And then the last, what, 7 books? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are in a video that I just finished filming, and so that won't be up for like a week or so-ish. So I'm not gonna tell you what the video is, you'll have to wait, but you get a little bit of a sneak peek to see what these books are. I started that video off reading The Au Pair Affair by Tessa Bailey. This is the second book in the Big Shot series, I think that's what it's called. So the first book, Fangirl Down, is about a professional golf player and his biggest fan. So that's Wills and Josephine. That book is so good. I love Tessa Bailey and her characters and the men she writes and her love stories. So I was really excited to read this one. This follows Burgess. He is a hockey player, and Tallulah, who is Josephine's best friend. I think that the synopsis on the back of the book, like, yes, it describes it correctly, but I think it gives the wrong impression. Like, I was expecting the story to kind of be a little bit different based off this. So all I'm gonna say to you is that this is about, well, this is a hockey single dad nanny trope romance. There's a little bit of an age gap. He's 11 years older than her. She's in like her mid to late 20s and he's like in his mid to late 30s. So those are the vibes. He, as all of her men, are protective, obsessive, and a little bit possessive. Just how I like my men, at least fictionally, I don't know. I rated this book 4 stars. I didn't love how the ending played out, because of course there's this, you know, conflict resolution and everything. And I feel like, so one thing to know about Tessa Bailey books is that they are very spicy. So keep that in mind. If you really do not like spicy books, don't read these books. Or, you know, if you don't mind that thing, or if you're good with just, you know, skipping a few pages, all good, but you might skip the pages a lot because it's very spicy. There's a lot of spicy scenes. And I just feel like the resolution had too much spice involved in it, and I feel like that messed with the emotional clarity of the resolution, if that makes sense. So I didn't love that aspect, but other than that, I still think it was really fun and flirty, and this is the vibe I love reading, so I will always recommend Tessa Bailey's books. The only book I did not like by her has been Secretly Yours. It fell flat, but the rest of her books I love, so go read Tessa Bailey if you're at all interested. Next, I rated Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the first book in a trilogy. It's a fantasy with like a little bit of romance, but it's definitely not like a huge part of it, I would say, at least not yet. This is about Amelia. She comes from a family of witches. She's a witch, and growing up, her Nona would always tell her these stories about the wicked, who are the princes of hell. She grew up just thinking they were, you know, like folk tales and like, you know, not real. But then her twin sister is murdered, and she promises to solve her sister's murder and provide justice for her. And so she kind of goes on this whole journey of, you know, trying to figure things out, and she realizes that those stories were real. And she actually meets Raph, one of the princes of hell. They end up actually kind of working together to solve this murder. But it's like, why are you on, like, witches and the princes of hell are kind of, you know, they're enemies. They don't go well together. So it's a little suspicious why he's, you know, helping. I ended up rating this 3.75 stars. I was very confused throughout this book. The explanation of what's going on and some magic stuff and character stuff, it was just kind of a little bit of a mess. It was hard for me to keep up with. I'm still new to fantasy, so I don't know if that's why. I don't fully get what's going on. I have an idea, but I'm still a little lost, so that was kind of hard. And I loved Amelia and Raph's banter. Like, they were just making me like laugh and giggle, and it was just really funny. And so I really liked their scenes together, and they had a really good chemistry. Not speaking like physically, but just like, I don't know, together. I think I do want to continue the series, but I'm not like loving it, you know? But like, I had a good time overall. And then I read volume 2 of Heartstopper. This was my graphic novel for the month. I don't really know how to explain the plot of this one because I don't want to spoil the first volume, but basically Nick and Charlie are friends, and then more. I ended up rating this 5 stars. I rated the first one 5 stars, I'm rating this one 5 stars. I don't know how to rate graphic novels, and I love Nick and Charlie, so I'm just stopping 5 stars, probably on every book in the series. We'll see how I feel. But this is like the second half of season 1 of the Netflix show, and it's just very sweet and beautiful and comforting and sweet and amazing. And I really like the author had put in like an author's note or acknowledgements or something that like this was the type of like queer story she wished she could have read growing up. So it makes me really happy that they're putting this story out there and now people do have it, and it's a very beautiful, sweet, wholesome story of love between these two high school boys. Next, I listened to the audiobook of Uninvited by Lisa Turkhurst. This is kind of about living loved when you feel less than left out and lonely, and how to kind of handle rejection and things of that nature a little bit differently, and instead of reacting probably not in a healthy way emotionally, but instead to cling to God and what he says about us and our identity in him and his love for us and his plan for us. And I think that's a great message. That's why I was excited to read this book. But I rated this book 2 stars. This book annoyed me a lot. The narrator, her delivery bugged me, and the author's writing bugged me. And so those two things together really were not a good combination for me personally. I feel like there was way too many personal anecdotes in this book, which made it very fluffy, and it felt like a badly written memoir instead of a Christian nonfiction book about a message. I don't know if it's a generational thing, but we have like 30 years between us, and so maybe it's that, because I feel like a lot of her stories, she's trying to be relatable in her clumsy times or her embarrassing moments, and like, yes, like it is somewhat relatable. We've all, been embarrassed in ways or been rejected or whatever, but it felt like she was trying so hard to be like quirky. And also in her stories, I was like, you're being stupid. And I shouldn't judge her because I'm stupid a lot of times too. But so there's that, and then the narrator's inflection and delivery. It was like the narrator was trying to be quirky in her delivery, and so that, along with like the quirky anecdotes together, it was so cringy to me. It gave me the ick, and there was so much of that like I didn't retain any information of like the preaching part. I didn't take any good information from it. I literally could not tell you a single thing about this book except her embarrassing stories. Great message, but wasn't executed well. I don't recommend this book. I'll probably unhaul it, to be honest. Next, I read probably one of my favorite books of the month. A novel love story by Ashley Poston. Poston? I still don't know. So this is a magical realism romance. This follows Elsie. She and her friends have an annual like cabin book club retreat, if you will, where they go to this cabin in upstate New York, I think that's where it is, and they just drink wine and they read romance books. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. But this year, she's the only one that can make it. Everyone else can't. But she just really needs this trip because of how her life has been playing out. So she goes alone, but then there's a storm. Her car breaks down in this small town, and this small town ends up being the fictional town from her favorite book series. How amazing. Dreams come true right there. So she gets to meet the book characters from her favorite book series. I want that to happen to me so bad. And then she ends up also meeting a man there who's a perfect book boyfriend. He's a little bit of a grump, and we know us book girlies love our book boyfriends grumpy at times. I rated this 4.5 stars. I loved it so much. I connected with it so much. I literally cried reading this book because of just thinking about like the theme or topic of what these like your favorite books mean to you, and like what the characters mean to you, like your comfort characters, and what these authors who have imagined these worlds that mean the world to you mean to you. And it's very bittersweet because you love them so much, but at the end of the day they're not real, and you're still living your own life, and you need to make sure you're the main character in your own life. You're living life to the fullest how you want to be living it. So it really hit hard. I really enjoyed the romance in this too. I liked who the guy was and how like that played out and what that situation was. I think that was really fun and interesting. I've heard mixed reviews about this, which I'm so shocked about. I don't know if they wanted the romance to be more, or I don't know. But books, hit people differently, and this one hit hard. Also look out for that video coming in a week or so to see me cry. And then I picked up The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This is a classic OG book talk book. This follows Olive and Ethan. They are the maid of honor and the best man at this wedding for her twin sister and his brother, and they are nemesis. Nemesis. They don't like each other. This is enemies to lovers, guys, okay? One of our favorite tropes. And they just do not get along. They butt heads. They're very sarcastic with each other. They're just always arguing. Their banter was so good because of that. It was so funny, I was laughing so much. And so then at this wedding, everyone gets violently ill from eating some toxic fish, but the only two people that didn't eat the fish and therefore weren't sick were Olive and Ethan. So the bride and groom offer them to go on their honeymoon because the honeymoon was non-refundable. And so they're like, go, make use of this, please. So they do, and they have to be fake married. They have to pretend that they are the married couple, and they go to Hawaii for 10 days. I rated this like a 3.5, 3.75. It wasn't like amazing, but I did really enjoy it. I had a really great time. I was expecting it to like just be like, you know, your regular sweet little rom-com, and it was, but it also had like further plot that I wasn't expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. It had more depth because of that, and it made it a little more interesting, and more things were going on than just like what you expect. So I really enjoyed it, and I get why this is an OG Book Talk book. I think it deserves that title. And then lastly, the 12-ish book that I've read is The Club by Ellery Lloyd. This is a mystery thriller. This is about this club that is exclusive just to, like, you know, celebrities that are higher up in the industry, like have a lot of status. And there's a bunch of different locations throughout the world for this fancy club. And so this book follows a weekend launch of this new island location for this club. And the more you learn, it seems like a lot of people have secrets and are suspicious and have their little plans, and then people start dying. Now, I haven't finished the book. That is why it's an ish. It's not a full book read. I'm almost 200 pages in out of 300. I'm hoping I can finish it today. Today's the last day of August, so I'm really hoping I can finish it today. So obviously I can't give my final rating because I haven't finished it, but I think it's gonna be a 2-star. As of right now, it's a 2-star. I don't like it. I've been wanting to read this book for years, and so I found it at a thrift store. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. I'll get to read it. But now I think I know why someone gave it away. The writing style is so boring. It's just paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. It's telling, it's not showing. There's barely any dialogue, there's barely any like action going on. It's just paragraphs, long chapters. It's not entertaining, it's not fun. Every so often I'll get like a little piece of something that's interesting, but I just keep dozing off while reading. My mind keeps wandering. I just get so bored. Usually I read 50 pages an hour. I was reading 30 pages an hour with this one. So that's really disappointing, and that's why I don't know if I'll be able to finish it today, because definitely, normally 100 pages I could read in 2 hours. This might take me like 4 hours to read 100 pages. I don't recommend this book. There are way better thrillers out there. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but this is how I feel. This is my truth. So these are the 12-ish books I have read in August. Let me know what you read in August. Let me know what you're gonna read in September. Let me just know what you're reading, what books you're loving. Tell me all about it. I wanna hear it, okay? Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking books with me. I hope, well, you had a good reading month, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!